Hi there guys, welcome back to another video, and in this week's video we're going to be discussing how and where you can vet your clients in 2021. The two main reasons why you want to vet your clients essentially is the first, you want to make sure they're serious and actually want to invest with you. And the second is you want to make sure that they're all fine to go from a legal background. When people hear about vetting your investors, a lot of people think it's boring and it's long. And although it's not the most enjoyable thing to do, it's definitely not a long process. And this is why a lot of people tend to almost skip over it and not focus about it too much. But again, this can really come back to haunt them in the future if anything does come up with their investor. So for us as a sourcing company, we have to carry out a vetting process as part of our compliance. Now again, the way we do it, we just do it in three simple steps. So we do proof of funds, we do getting an NDA signed, and then we do a Credas check, which is essentially just a small background check, but mostly used for anti-money laundering. Again, a lot of estate agents are tending to use softwares like this now, but again, I'll jump into that a bit later on in the video as well. So in this week's video, I'm just going to discuss the three main methods in which we use to vet our clients, how you can do it efficiently, and what are the main platforms to do it on. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So the first thing you need to get from your investor is proof of funds. Now this is the first thing you need to get because basically it essentially just crosses that bridge in the fact that if they're wasting your time or not. So by getting this proof of funds, you know if your investor is actually really serious to go or if they're just trying to waste your time. So the reason for the proof of funds is basically for two reasons, and it's to make sure that your investors are serious to go from the start, and again to just really see how their finances are coming into play so they're all backed legally. So again, this doesn't have to be anything special. This can literally just be a bank statement. Preferably it has to be dated back within 3 months, just so you can actually see their most recent transactions and what their bank balance is currently looking at. Now again, obviously the main reason for this is to make sure they're serious. By having it dated from the past 13 months, you know it's still relatively new and relevant. However, the only thing you need to be cautious of is where you actually store this. So again, this is client information. So without going against GDPR, you need to make sure that you're storing it in the correct and secure locations. So again, there's plenty of different platforms you can really do this on. Again, Dropbox you can do it on, you do it on Google Drive. You just need to make sure that your client's information is essentially secure and safe. Now the second part to the vetting process is getting an NDA signed. So again, we use this as we're a sourcing company, and it basically just means that our client can't disclose any confidential information to any other parties. And essentially what this contract does, it just keeps you both protected from a legal standpoint, really. When it comes to an NDA, you can get it drawn up in many different ways. You can get it drawn up by a solicitor, but obviously when you're just starting out, legal fees can be fairly expensive, so you might not have the capital to do so. The way we did it is we use a website called Simply Docs, and again, they are basically a contract website and whatnot. So for example, they have 4 categories: property, business, finance, and then corporate, I believe. The only ones you need for a sourcing company is just property and business. This way you can get all the required contracts that you need. So for example, with the NDA, that will just be on the business one, and essentially you just download it, it comes as a template, and then again you just fill in the missing blanks that correlate to what you're doing. So again, this would be stuff such as the date, your client's name, client company, and then their signature essentially. So again, it's not too difficult. Obviously once you've done it all, if you would feel more comfortable getting it looked over by a solicitor, that would be probably the best thing to do, as the NDA they have on Simply Docs is quite in depth, as it's quite broad. So again, you might want to shorten that a bit for your clients. And then in terms of Simply Docs as a website, I'll just post their link to the webpage down below just so you can go there. Again, it's really cheap, it's really affordable. They have 4 categories which I've gone over, and they basically charge £41 a year for it, which is really, really good. So we ended up paying £82 for the whole year for kind of all the contracts we really need. Again, it is probably better to get them looked over by solicitors, but as a base ground, it's really, really good. And when they do update a contract, they do let you know, which is really, really good. So you are essentially staying up to date with all your compliance, which again is really, really helpful. So that's the second thing you need, getting that NDA signed. When your investor actually signs that, you know that they're actually really serious, they're all ready to go, and essentially you're just both protected from a legal standpoint. So that is the second thing you need to do in the vetting process. The last thing you need to do with the vetting process is just a quick AML check / background check. So again, we use Credas for this. Credas is a great platform, and basically what it does is it just does a small background check on your client, so whether that's through their bank and ID, just to make sure everything's all green light and there's nothing behind the scenes that you should really know of. Again, this isn't too expensive. I believe it's just a couple of pounds to kind of vet one client, which can add up, but again, it makes sure that you're protected from a legal standpoint and you've kind of covered your ground. Now, when it comes to these anti-money laundering and background checks, a lot of estate agents are actually using them. So again, you know they're safe and secure, but obviously the main thing you want to do is make sure that the platform you're using on is actually safe and secure, and again, it's fine leaving your client information on there. So for example, we use Credas, and Credas are all safe, they're all secure, and they've got the right compliance in place. So again, I'll link below their website in the description just so you can have a look in there. But again, they're really simple to use. Basically with Credas, all you do is you just put in your client's phone number or email address, it would send them over a message. All they then have to do is fill in a few boxes, which should take no longer than 5 minutes. It'll then verify it. So again, that might take a couple of hours. And then once it's finished verifying, it'll give you an answer whether it's green or red. I mean, you can do this more in depth. So maybe they're green on their bank, but maybe they're red on their ID because maybe there's someone else with another name or whatnot. But again, once the actual check is complete, you get a full document of everything. So again, you can send this over to your client if they would feel comfortable doing that. So yeah, that's kind of the last thing in terms of the vetting process. So it's just getting the AML check. Now the thing with these anti-money laundering checks and the background checks is they're not necessarily required, but it does keep you protected, and it's just an extra precaution really to make sure that your investor is actually who they say they are. In conclusion then, when it comes to vetting your clients, it is definitely not something you need to skip over. It's something that you need to fully understand and do correctly, because again, if anything goes wrong and you've not done the right vetting, then it kind of comes back to you. So again, the main things you need is getting proof of funds for yourself, and just to really make sure how their cash is coming in, you need to get an NDA signed to make sure you're really protected from a legal standpoint, and then an anti-money laundering and background check. We use Credas, and essentially that just ensures that they're all good from that status, and obviously if anything comes up, then they'll let you know. So yeah, again, those are the 3 things we do in order to vet our clients, and a lot of people will say it's boring and it's long, but it's really not a long process. We've had some clients that have completed it in a day, which has been phenomenal, because then that allows us to move forward with business. Again, with this vetting, it can take as long as you want, but if you do it from the start, it's just going to make your life a whole lot easier, because then you won't have to worry about it when it actually comes to needing it, because you've already got it. And again, that's everything for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. In terms of all the links and websites we use, I'll post them down in the description below just so you can benefit from them if you do fancy using them. But I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you've taken some value away from this video, and until next time, we'll see you next week.